The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager. Bitcoin gunning for 46,000. Let's take a live look. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently trading at 45,881. Bitcoin up about 2.4% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at 3139, trading pretty flat for the day. And the new DFX CoinDesk's DeFi index is trading at 659. DeFi is up about 75 basis points over the past 24 hours. And here to get down to the bottom of this price-popping action is Teddy Fusaro, the president of Bitwise, a crypto index manager. Welcome, Teddy. So taking a look at Bitcoin, what is driving it up?
Christine, Lawrence, Emily, good to be back with you guys again. I just want to say off the top, great coverage over this weekend's happenings on the infrastructure bill. Thanks to Nick for being there and online all weekend covering it. You guys have really been on it. So the whole industry appreciates it, so thank you. In terms of what we're seeing in the market, yes, we haven't traded in this range since May. We're nearing 46,000 now. And I think historically, when we look at Bitcoin's price action, the rallies do tend to be short, sharp, and really exaggerated like this. And that's what we're seeing right now. It's been a few months now, about 3 months of somewhat sideways trade. And in particular, this is why when we talk to clients, our CIO, Matt Hogan at Bitwise, has done some really interesting research about the importance of rebalancing an exposure in a diversified portfolio so that you don't miss these moves if you do decide to have an allocation to Bitcoin and crypto. That way, you'll participate when these moves occur, and you can be in position to either take some off when there's a rally or add to your position when there's a pullback.
Teddy, good to see you again. I'm going to throw the same question I threw Sam to you, and that's this. We saw a lot of movement over the past few days, not just the weekend, of course, but also the previous week, from wallet to wallet, $500 million clips here and there of Bitcoin moving from one wallet to another, but we have low volume on these exchanges. So what exactly is going on? What's happening that exchanges and other whales are moving their crypto from one wallet to another, yet we're not seeing them go necessarily onto exchanges to be sold? We're not quite sure what's really happening. What do you suppose is happening? What are you hearing?
Yeah, interesting question that you have there, Lawrence. Listened into Sam's response as well. I think it can be really difficult, particularly in the short term, to sort of read the tea leaves on these stablecoin movements across exchanges. Two things that I would say, though, if a market maker is making sales of Bitcoin, they're going to need to, or if they're purchasing Bitcoin from sellers on the exchange, they're going to need to create stablecoin to deliver that out. If it's an exchange that is denominated in USDC or in USDT, they're going to need to increase that supply of the stablecoin in order to make their settlement. That's one dynamic. Another dynamic is that it was a weekend. And in general, as arbitrage opportunities pop up across exchanges for these market-making firms, they need stable coin to be able to move them quickly from one venue to the other. So as activity rises, we do tend to see these dynamics, increased movement of assets, increased movement in stable coins, and that's how it kind of balances out across exchanges. I do think, though, looking at the data very briefly, we haven't seen a ton to indicate that this is a move driven by any particular exchange. And so those are just some of the dynamics to think about as you're looking at these asset transfers and these sort of sizable creations in the different markets.
Teddy, welcome back. Could you break down a little bit, though, this market's reaction to the infrastructure bill? Because it kind of doesn't make that much sense, right? I mean, this is a massive thing. You know, everybody's talking about how this is like critical for the future of the industry. Not only does the market not seem to be paying that much attention, it's actually going up, you know, in the midst of great regulatory uncertainty and regulatory uncertainty that at this point looks likely to not end up that well for the crypto industry. So, like, what's going on?
I'm going to take the other side of that for a moment, Emily. I think that what we saw over the weekend, over the past 4 or 5 days, is an incredibly remarkable strength and power from the cryptocurrency community. We have tens of millions of cryptocurrency users who are envisioning a more positive, more resilient, more robust economic future. And they had their voice heard this week in DC, in the Senate, on social media.
Did they have their voices? Did they have their voices heard though? Because ultimately, it looks like it's not. I mean, I get what you're saying in principle, but it's not actually looks likely to change the effect of the bill.
We may not have the result that we want right now, but we absolutely had our voice heard. And I think that's the important thing to note here. There's an incredible amount of power in the vibrant ecosystem that is developed around cryptocurrency online and also in DC. I think it's still uncertain, as we heard from Nick at the top. It doesn't look great for what at least the short-term results are going to be of the effect of this lobbying effort. But I think that it's really difficult. Actually, it's impossible to ignore that the cryptocurrency community now has a voice. There's a lot to be worked out in terms of how the bill will actually impact the market. As we talked about earlier, there are a number of things that need to be clarified. But in terms of actually having a voice, of actually being an industry that has a seat at the table, it's hard to say that the community doesn't have that now. And I think that's a big part of this.
So Teddy, getting back to price action, we're seeing this short rally now that's happened in recent days. Do you think this is sustainable, or is this kind of like a head fake and we head down further lower from here, or at least lower from after going up a little bit more?
Sustainability, always hard to predict. As I mentioned earlier, it was on a weekend, so we did have a move that was on light volumes. Something worth keeping an eye on. What we've tended to see, of course, is that after we have strong rallies in Bitcoin, that tends to spill over until the alternative coins. Ethereum first usually, which has also rallied strongly over the weekend, and then coins on down from there. Part of this is why we actually have some new funds at Bitwise that we unveiled last week, the Bitwise Uniswap Fund and the Bitwise Aave Fund. That's a market-driven thing where our clients want to have exposure to these assets. They're aware of these trends. They see them. They want a way to be able to get exposed to the coins that come after a move that you have in Bitcoin, in addition to participating in it. And so I would say we need to see if there's confirmation on this move, see if it sort of stops out at the 50,000 level or if it keeps going. And then if so, we have a little bit of confirmation and you may want to start looking to these other assets.
Teddy, real quick,
Teddy, congratulations
on how much of the sorry, just real quick, I just want to ask you quickly about the hard fork. How much of this recent surge do you think is due to the hard fork of Ethereum, and how much do you think Bitcoin is following that?
I think Bitcoin is leading here, even though we did see the move last week in Ethereum, and there's been a lot of positive uptake in the community. It's hard for me to tell how much of the London hard fork is actually understood sort of outside of the core group of experts and enthusiasts. We're really excited about the upgrade on the Ethereum network at Bitwise. We know the Ethereum community is really excited about it. It's unclear to us how much of that kind of spills over into the broader community that's driving these moves.